Wayward Courier Chapter 17. I just smacked one in the face hard enough to turn her skull into powder, and she got right back up. It was a bit like fighting feral ghouls in a heavily irradiated area. Actually, no, feral ghouls just rush at you. These ponies, they had strategy, they had skill, more like the marked men, really. I make a point not to fight anything that can heal with radiation with my fist. After all, punching something to death takes a while unless you break the right bones. Only I didn't have a choice against those guards. The Pegasi had intentionally used a strategy akin to the ones used when engaging diamond dogs or minotaurs. By keeping their distance and striking as one, they were more likely to inflict enough damage to beat their opponent into submission. Using their size against them was also part of that. Unfortunately, the Courier was proven a much harder to hit target than anything his size should have been. The Courier had chosen to meld two separate strategies together. While airborne, he would treat them like he would a cazador. While on the ground, he would treat them like a coyote or a night stalker. This had proven effective to a point, that point being that mutant animals and insects didn't have much in a way of strategy, where his current opponents did. As a result of the unexpected or unwanted parts of their opponents' fighting styles, both sides ended up completely disregarded all strategy and fought on instinct. Here, the human had a clear advantage. Being of a species that had war and battle in its blood, he knew how to move to avoid getting hit and where to strike to do maximum damage. The ponies, been descended from a prey species, were fighting everything that told them to flee and seeking safety in numbers. Because of this, they were constantly distracted and ended up taking blows that, if not for their enchanted amulets, would have seriously injured them. The armored ponies gasped for breath, sweat cascading off their bodies. The fight had gone on much longer than anyone has anticipated, nearly half an hour. Every broken bone, every laceration, even Thunderstrike's shattered vertebrae, their magical amulets had healed those injuries in moments. Their armor bore the signs of near relentless beatings, many of the plates bent out of shape, a few missing. Now they were running on fumes. They barely had enough energy left to take wing, and any injuries they took now would be permanent. The magic in the amulets expanded. Much to their frustration and the crowd's amazement, none of their attacks seemed to have done much to slow the Courier. What they didn't know was that he was nursing a fractured rib, a concussion, and enough bruising to make it seem as though he had just gone one-on-one with a deathclaw. Only experience and freakishly high pain tolerance kept him from kneeling over and giving up. "You all fight like you're pregnant," he taunted. "That's it," Storm Surge said through gritted teeth. "You're going down!" The stallion was sick of the constant taunting, the insults, and the snide comments. All he wanted now was to smack the smug smile off his face and grind his skull into the ground. As he leapt and soared at him, wings stretched as far as they could to provide extra speed, the Courier activated the Volt Tech Assistant Targeting System, as known as VATS. The whole world stopped as the processors built into the wrist-mounted computer calculated his chances, how much damage he could do, and lined up everything. 10 seconds in VATS translated to 1/1000th of real time. The human unleashed a punishing barrage of blows that let the guard, even under his armor, a battered, bloody mess. It had all happened so fast that even Luna, with her incredible eyesight, had trouble making out what had happened. At first, they all thought that Storm Surge had been killed. After a few seconds of tense silence, an inaudible moan was heard and the crowd erupted into cheers when he managed shakily to get on his hooves. There he was, with a broken wing, more than half his armor bent into a strange piece of compensatory art, and blood pouring from one of his eyes, and still he fought. This was incredibly short-lived, as the Courier, even moving from where he was, brought the tip of his steel toe boot into his jaw. One down, he said as the stallion collapsed and didn't get back up. A pair of unicorns stood at the side of the arena, readying their magic to take the incapacitated guard away at the first opportunity they could. Two to go, he growled as his eyes focused on the guards, wide-eyed at how their colleague had been treated. He's gonna kill us, Thunderstrike murmured. He killed Storm, and we're next. Pull yourself together, Cloud9 hissed as the courier calmly stepped towards them. We still outnumber him. Storm was stupid, rushing in like that. It's what he wanted. You wouldn't believe how easy it is to take out someone who isn't thinking straight. The Pegasi looked up to see the courier looking down on them, wearing a twisted smile, or someone who isn't paying attention. The ponies dove out of the way as his left fist traveled through space that Cloud9's head just had occupied. As they turned to face him, they were shocked to see him clutch his hand and swear in pain. Motherfucker! Fuck! 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 My fingers! Fuck! Punching someone while using knuckle dusters is usually absolutely fine. They tend to absorb the blow and only get a little bruised. Punching the ground, on the other hand, you'll be lucky not to break every finger and half the bone in your hand. I did that, as well as twisting my wrist. And of course, those bastards took advantage of my moment of distraction. The courier was distracted from the pain in his hand when a pair of armored horseshoes collided directly with his spinal column. He fell face first and got a mouthful of dirt. And stay down, he heard Cloud9 yell triumphantly, quickly following by the crowd. Not fucking likely, he said as he pushed himself up with his good hand. The crowd as one gasped. What? Thunder exclaimed as the courier turned around slowly. But your spine! My spine is made of super durable titanium carbon alloy and emitted with shock-absorbing technologies to withstand everything you can throw at me, he calmly explained. I am unbreakable. Your hand says otherwise, Cloud9 retorted, keeping a straight face. A large portion of the crowd tried to hold back their laughter, while the rest just gave in. It wasn't practically funny, but given the circumstances, there was little else to laugh at. Cracking jokes? Really? He asked, completely unamused. He blinked when he noticed something was off. Wait, where did the other one go? He got his answer. When he was suddenly assaulted with electrical current, he let out a pain, screaming as his body screamed in agony. As he fell, he was dimly aware of a male voice yelling out, You just got Thundershock! There was a mass of cheering, the ponies convinced that they had just seen two of their numbers take down this savage soldier from another world. The combatants on the other hoof was cautious. They weren't sure that the electrocution was enough to be enough to keep him down. They were right. That's it, the courier growled. No more playing around. You think you're the only ones with a few tricks up your sleeves? As he stood, his right hand uncovered and hovered over his Pip-Boy, the fingers dancing around on the screen. Guess again. His fingers tapped something only he could see. That was the last thing that Thunderstrike knew before his entire world became pain. Even with one arm, the courier did a fine job of turning the stallion's face into a rather crude, puerile picture of the ruins of the DC. Thunderstrike had lost consciousness halfway through the assault, but still the man kept on attacking. The speed he moved at too much even for Luna to see what he was doing. Cloud9 was now shaking in her horseshoes. She had seen this being brutally taking down two of her colleagues, two of her best fighters the Night Guard had to offer, and all he could do to show for it was a self-inflicted injury. She now knew that he hadn't wanted to fight all three of them at once as some sort of boast. He had wanted to give them a fair chance. Even with their healing amulets, he had managed to wipe the floor with them from the very start. The outcome been obvious. 2 down, she heard the courier say confidently. You gonna surrender? The night guard never surrenders, she answered, sounding much braver than she was feeling. Then it looks like I'll have to break every bone in your body, he replied, grabbing his hand with his good hand and electing a frightening cracking. Cloud9 saw an opening. It was only a moment later that she realized that she had fallen right into his trap. In the moment she started galloping towards him, the courier planted his injured hand on the ground, using it as a support, sweeping his legs in a circle, the strident sin guarding connecting with three of her legs. She went down with a pained yelp. She was sure that, at the very least, one of her legs was broken. She had groaned. The courier knelt down and whispered to the mare, "At this point, I'd take out my revolver and paint the ground with your brain. You've lost this." He grimaced, trying to ignore the pain throughout his entire body. "Last chance to surrender," he offered. "Over my dead body," Cloud9 spat defiantly. "I've killed and eaten things that put up more of a fight," he said, shaking his left hand in an attempt to get rid of the numbness. "Seriously, just give up, for the both of our sakes." There was a tense silence, and the crowd waited with bated breath. "Fine," the mayor said wearily. "I surrender." "I declare the victor of this fight the Courier," Luna declared, the courier standing up and raising his fist high in the air, a triumphant smile on his face. Author's note: VATS, Implant GRX, and the Ranger takedown, and that's not even half of what he's packing. We never got told what your spine gets replaced within the game. There's my guess.